Nope. We are live. We are live action. What's going on, everybody? Wait for some people to get here. I am here with, and I'm going to put your link. Make sure to subscribe. All right, we're here with the Football Grump, host of the Just Giants podcast. He does some good stuff. I guess unnoticed how like you guys are level-headed. You guys keep at the grind. You do your homework. You guys need to be featured more. So this is our first one doing it, and I wanted to feature you guys. What's going on, Grump?
Not too much, man. We just finished recording our episode that's dropping tomorrow. I got to edit that as soon as we're done here and get it ready. It's nice that you say that we're level-headed because that was kind of always the goal. My co-host, the Cranky Fan, is actually my cousin. And before the podcast days, we would just kind of talk in between games, just like long text conversations throughout the week about like, oh, how are we going to match up against Dallas and all this other stuff. And then in between all that, we'd be kind of screenshotting like crazy reaction Giants Twitter and just overboard Giants Twitter. And that was kind of where the podcast came from, was like, people need to calm down. They just need to relax a little bit here and there in both directions, overly excited and then like overly pessimistic. So I'm glad that we come across as level-headed. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to start on a positive. I listened to your guys' podcast. You, like you said, you are level-headed, so you're not going overboard. But I can tell that you're excited about what Patrick Graham has done with this defense. Doesn't mean this Giants defense is going to be dominant, but you like what you see. You look at the film. What do you like about Patrick Graham so far? Because I could like start listing off like little tiny nerdy stuff, but like what's like your biggest like? Wow, I'm surprised that he's doing this.
I think you and I would have the worst podcast ever if we were to do one, because we say all the same shit. So I highlighted on our Tuesday morning one of my favorite plays that he ran on defense. And I was like, you know what I should do? It's hard to describe without a visual. I was like, I don't have some great setup for video stuff yet, but I was like, I'll just record it with my phone on the All-22 and I'll show it there. But you already did it. You picked the same play, and it was the Kyler Fackrell sack.
Oh, dude, I love that. That's like that
six guys around the line of scrimmage, and two linebackers bail out. BJ Hill starts to rush, and then he bails out too. You've got the open guy over to Jared Goff's left, and you just bank on the fact that he doesn't get that far in his progression because Goff is a very quick throw offense. And you just hope that the confusion with the rushers screws up something on the offensive line. I think what makes me excited about Patrick Graham is his ability to get the most out of what he has. We made excuses for people like Steve Spagnuolo in the past where we were like, oh, well, 2016, you can see if you give him the guys, he can run a great defense. It's like a good coach can get the most out of what you're able to get. You're not able to spend your entire salary cap on one side of the ball. So I think that's what makes me really excited about Patrick Graham, is just working with what he's got.
Yeah, when I was listening, I can't remember what day I was listening, either Tuesday or Wednesday, to your guys' show. And when you mentioned that play, I was like, yeah, it seems like everyone who like loves this nerdy stuff loved that play because it was taking a risk while also shutting down what they're best at, where how many years have we seen, two linebackers play their zones and they're just leaving that middle right open, and NFL teams like kill that. So I like that. So
the tight end over the middle every time,
Yeah. All right, so we're going to put some questions up on the screen. Pete says, will Xavier have a slow start back from the injury, and what is his ceiling? I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts?
It's a two-part question, so we'll start with the first one. Don't expect a lot from people coming back, A, from injury, and B, without any sort of off-season stuff. This year is just so screwed up with no off-season, no training camp, really. Or just at least a wonky training camp and no preseason. And then with an injury to McKinney, a rookie, give him some time. I expect him to have a slow start back. Keep your expectations low with stuff like that. Even if you think back to Prince Amukamara, who had a similar injury in his rookie year, I think, right? He had a broken bone in the top of his foot that he suffered in training camp after his holdout ended. And
I think so.
They won the Super Bowl that year, but he was not like a starter on defense at corner. I think he kind of just like rotated in. as far as his ceiling, it depends on how long they keep a guy like Patrick Graham. He runs a really versatile, multiple defense, and somebody who played so many positions at Alabama really fits in well. I think as long as he's utilized to his strengths, he could be, I would say, Pro Bowl level. I wouldn't say this year, maybe not next year either, but I could see him. Yeah.
So what do you think about Ryan, though? Because Ryan seems to be playing that exact, like when they signed Logan Ryan, he was saying, oh, I'm a safety. I didn't buy that. I was like, this guy's a corner. He's played corner his entire career. He's actually playing safety. What do you think is there a long-term future with Ryan? And do you think he fits in with it?
I think there could be. I just don't think there is. If they were to actively pursue him for a long-term future, I think they would have landed him sooner. I think they would have. I mean, that's kind of the business side of the NFL, though. He could certainly fit in. I think the upside is more with McKinney for that kind of role. But I think also Patrick Graham is good at just letting DBs play DB and not necessarily a specific role if needed. So,
yeah. I love Peppers, but the first two games, it's difficult with the safety because like last year, Peppers like, man, this guy's just a playmaker, and then the first two games, he wasn't like a huge playmaker, but also it's like we're not mentioning his name, so that's a safety. That's what you kind of want, especially he was playing. Actually, he was playing more of that linebacker role, so you probably wanted to hear his name a little more. But it's interesting to see what they're going to do with with him, Ryan, McKinney. Hell, even Julian Love is a guy we like. It seems like he's kind of getting diminished a little bit with Adrian Colbert. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, this is a good question for you. Christopher Bonamo says, do you feel this game we'll find out if Ryan Lewis will be our cornerback 2 or not going forward? Because he had a good game. Like, there was no like, oh, damn, look at our cornerback 2 like there was the first few weeks. What are your thoughts from his game?
From that game was excellent. I think they've really phased Corey Ballantyne out. And I don't know if that's because he's just not showing it or he's not picking up the new defense, but he's struggled. And Ryan Lewis came in the game and stayed in the game there. And he did a good job. We were just kind of talking about this with the Cowboys. It's a little bit similar to the Rams where they just have a lot of weapons on the outside. This could be the game where he really solidifies his spot if he can string together 2 games in a row where he really does well. But it could also be, he gets exposed, and it may not be his fault per se. It's just that Dallas has the ability to spread the ball around. Yeah, I don't know.
We said on the podcast, a spoiler I had is if Patrick Graham can shut down these trees, not totally shut down, but slow down, then he deserves like head coaching like looks because this trio's a beast. I mean, they're all doing production. Gallup only has 13 catches, which isn't bad for a third wide receiver through the first 4 games, but he's averaging over 20 yards per catch in his catches. CeeDee Lamb looks like a beast. Amari, obviously, like he's having an awesome year. So I think Patrick Graham really is going to trust Bradbury and Cooper, and I think they're going to use their safeties to try and figure out a way to slow down those other 2 guys. And if he can figure out the way to do it, because he is a week-to-week guy, he's not running the same stuff every week, that'll blow my mind. But Ryan Lewis, like you said, I like what I saw out of him, but I'm not like singing the Ryan Lewis praises just yet.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't use the next game as a benchmark for it either. They may, with 2 tackles kind of out in a sense, we have Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith are not likely to play. It is not likely to play. You've got some guys you probably never heard of playing tackle for the Cowboys. The pass rush just may get there a little bit sooner. So even if Ryan Lewis does an outstanding job, it may be due to other factors as well. So, this is, and division games in general, I think, are kind of weird. Your normal matchups don't work the same way because you play each other twice a year and you have to keep that in mind. And division games are just wonky in general. So
yeah,
he can help himself, but I wouldn't use it as the benchmark for what we do with him going forward.
Yeah, I like him. I was surprised because all right, they tried Ballantine, who I like Ballantine's talent, but I also didn't have any expectations for it. And then you hit him. It's like, okay, one of these 3rd round guys, you give a second shot, where it's like, okay, they weren't playing to his strengths in Denver. And then Ryan Lewis, it's like, gosh, we're scraping the ball on the barrel. And then he comes out and plays a pretty damn good game. You know, Goff missed on a couple throws, but even if he didn't, Lewis was right there with him. So I'm excited to see out of him. All right, next one we got Joel Yotto. He says, will Garrett open up the offense against a bad Dallas secondary or will he stay short? In articles, Garrett said he was figuring out who does what best. So obviously that Garrett quote went like pretty big today about we're still trying to figure out what we're good at. Obviously that's the life of media. You talked me off a little bit of ledge like last week on Garrett. And I was like, all right, I'll have some patience. And then after week 4, like, nope, I'm done. What are your thoughts? Because I know it's like sometimes it gets simplified to like, all right, we're a short offense or we're a deep offense, where it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can have on one side a deep concept, whether it's a flat corner go, and then on the back side you can have Caden Smith with an 8-yard curl and the running back on a block and delay. So it's not all or nothing, and that's what's been frustrating with Garrett, is that it has been all or nothing, where it's been like all short stuff, and then it's like, all right, on this play we're taking a deep shot, and we'll do max protect, 2 guys go deep, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't. So, I mean, what are your I feel like Garrett can't look at what this offense has done and be like, yep, let's stay on the same course. Like, there's got to be major changes.
Yeah, Garrett's a mystery for me right now. I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to figure it out because it doesn't make sense no matter who the coordinator is. We can make jokes about Jason Garrett just because he's a former Cowboy head coach and for clapping and all that stuff. But really, as a professional coach, I don't really know what's going on. It seems like they're so lost without the offseason that he just is trying to figure out what works. I mean, the quote is kind of a punchline because it sounds bad, but I mean, the situation is bad, right? I mean, we have drives where we're running a power running game. We have RPO stuff mixed in there where we're utilizing Daniel Jones's legs. We have, it just seems like a bunch of mixed concepts. And like you're saying with the all or nothing route tree and things like that and concepts, I'm wondering how much is being dumbed down for Daniel Jones to adjust because he didn't get the offseason. I don't know what the reason for any of it is, but it's surely been frustrating. On our pod, we do a quick keys to the game where defense, how do we win? Offense, how do we win? And at this point, offense has devolved into fuck the other team, forget the other team entirely. We got to go in and just execute plays because I don't know what we're good at. I don't know what we're trying to be. I don't know. It just seems like a mess right now. So, I can't defend Garrett, but at the same time, it does appear to me that he is just throwing concepts at the team and seeing what they work best. I'm not sure that's the best way to do it, but I don't know what other solution there is if you don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. I try to like you, I try to be level-headed and patient. But the thing with Garrett, it's like, everyone in Dallas said that this get used to it. Like stuff doesn't change. And that's why I've kind of went off quickly. And it's like, I'm kind of out on it. Like shock me, change everything. That's where I'm at with Garrett. Cause Giants fans and all fans, the distance makes the heart grow fonder, where it's like Odell has a good game. We're talking about Odell. Patrick Mahomes has a good game. And it's like, Ben McAdoo did want Patrick Mahomes. And it started early with Shermer, but I was on the board. Like, I liked Shermer last year. I would have been cool if they kept him. I always said that him and Gettleman should be a package deal so we don't end up in a weird situation like we might end up being where you were off schedule. Mm-hmm. But I liked Shermer because he was aggressive and he let Jones take chances. Like you said, it seems like they're trying to protect Jones and they're doing the exact opposite because he's still not getting the ball out super quick. On some plays he is, but he's still like top 12 in time to throw. But with wide receivers that get no separation and short concepts, defenses are. I mean, I've never seen DBs play as aggressive as they have against these Giants wide receivers in this first quarter of the season.
Yeah, it's really disappointing not to see anything downfield too, because it's something that Jones is pretty good at. It's not even so much that he's not getting time in the pocket. It's again, it seems to be locked into like one receiver. And, I know that everyone's blaming Jones for, staring down receivers, and he deserves blame for it. But at the same time, again, it seems like these concepts are run to a very basic format that he's kind of not really given a whole bunch of options. You know what I mean? Like you said, they're all short concepts, or they're all,
he's checking it. Like, okay, it's one read because it's like, these are supposed to be like bam, bam throws. So it's like the same exact thing on the other side. So once you look to the other side, that stuff's going to be covered by that time. Obviously there's different things. And also I enjoyed Mark Schlereth, like just keying in on that. Like on that RPO where Board did it in the beginning of the game where he's locking in on wide receivers. Yeah. It's like Mark Schlereth, none of the receivers ran routes. I don't know who. Yeah. And he's like going through this slow motion. It's like, look how long it's taken him to go through his progression. It's like, yeah, well, you're watching it in slow-mo, Mark.
Well, you know what? The other thing too is that we have now lost our way into the C broadcast teams.
That's true.
That's making it even more frustrating. My girlfriend is getting to the point where she's finding something else to do when the game is on because I'm making fun of the announcers and it's driving her crazy.
You broke up for a second, but I think you said you're losing it on the announcers.
Yeah. My girlfriend's decided to leave the apartment when the game's on because I just yell at the announcers the whole time.
Yeah. All right. This one, we haven't talked about this on our pod, but I think it's a good question. JD asks, do you think Daniel Jones is being kept on a leash when it comes to calling audibles or making any changes at the line? And the part of me that likes Daniel, like I like Daniel Jones a lot. There's no secret about that. I want to say yes, but also if he's not, that's worrisome because with the run game, a lot of the stuff has been like, we shouldn't be running the ball up against this defensive front. And it's like, are they not giving him the freedom to audible like crazy or what? Because it's some like basic stuff. I mean, especially against Pittsburgh, it was like, we should not be running against these fronts. Like this is basic audible stuff. I mean, obviously we can't know 100%, so you can't give like a fire take on this, but I mean, what are your thoughts on just the audibles as a whole?
Well, audibles are a super specific part of the offense, right? I think in general, Daniel Jones is being kept on a leash. I think he's getting his hand held with this offense. I mean, it's just a theory. I have nothing to back that up other than he looks uncomfortable in this offense. It doesn't look like he has comfort in knowing where people are supposed to be, knowing what the play is supposed to look like and knowing how it's going to execute. And, with audibles, I do think so. I think that they're really just trying. Well, I mean, you mentioned Pittsburgh, right? That was week 1 with no preseason, was really like a preseason week 1. So, I wouldn't have been surprised if they went in there with like a package of 25, 30 plays or like just run these, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're slowly introducing things to him, which is unfortunate because when you do that, you're almost like forfeiting the year. But it does appear that way, that he's getting his hand held throughout this offense in general. Because
I don't like. We're
seeing different concepts every week too, right?
Yeah, he's a smart. Like he blew away the Wonderlic test, and I know that's not the end all be all, but like he's a smart dude. I don't get why they baby him. And like someone said something about like the preseason, but even when you look at the preseason last year, there was deep concepts aren't something that you don't need to be a genius. Like a lot of times those ones are the easiest ones because you're reading on a corner on the sideline. It's like if he goes deep, you hit the corner. If he doesn't, you hit the, simple stuff like that. This is a good one because me and you both liked Andrew Thomas a lot. And we were both I don't know why this guy's offensive tackle 4. Now, early on, he looks like OT4. I haven't watched much of worse, but everyone says he's been great. Becton, although he's hurt, has been he's a highlight reel left tackle, which you usually don't see. And Wills has been solid, but he's also been protected by that Cleveland Browns run game, play action offense a little bit too. What are your thoughts on Thomas? Because Pittsburgh, it was like, oh my gosh, this guy's a beast. I was taking victory laps, and Chicago was like there was some struggles, but it looked good. It's like you remember the bad plays, but it looked good. San Fran, he had struggles, and then this game, I mean, it was brutal to start, and then it seemed like he figured out. I mean, what are your thoughts on Andrew Thomas and his development?
It's very early to judge any draft picks. We on our podcast try to stay as level-headed as possible. That is the goal. So we usually tell people not to overreact to boom or bust for like 2 years. You know what I mean? You're not going to know. And it's position dependent too. Left tackle is a big jump from college to NFL. So is corner, for instance. You know, I mean, when you're going in college, the competition you're against is so drastically different. I mean, you have some benefit with Andrew Thomas coming from the SEC. But I mean, in general, he was coming from a much better offense. You know, not that I think Georgia is a better offense than the New York Giants or anything, but just a more cohesive offense with one specific, drive. That whole offensive line is fantastic. Yeah. It's going to take time for him. And, you mentioned week 3, he was pretty brutal. I mean, everyone on offense was terrible week 3. That whole team that went out there week 3, I don't know what that team was. I stopped watching that game to leave. I couldn't watch it anymore. It was horrendous. Last week, like you said, he struggled a bit early and then he seemed to figure it out. I think it's just going to take time with him. I think his ceiling is still, I would say his ceiling is probably second highest of those 4 tackles. I think Becton's ceiling is the highest if he can attain it. I'm not going to overreact to that. Right now, nobody on that offensive line is looking great anyway. So, we want to zero in on one guy, fine, but it's not like he's the problem.
I'm still confident in him. And honestly, even though it's been bad, he's looked better than Solder like last year. That's not a high bar, but nonetheless. And the things he knew he needed to work on are still the same things he's struggling with. And with this weird offseason, I'm not worried about Thomas. You see, as long as he is a hard worker, which is really half the battle in the NFL. It's like, are you a hard worker or are you not?
Sure.
That's like when people are like, oh, Eric Flowers is like, his own teammates said he was lazy and not a hard worker. That was half the issue. And plus his highlight tape wasn't even good as Andrew Thomas's like regular game tape.
Don't get me started.
But it's left tackles, they get compared. So I've been fine with him. But the one thing I have changed, and I'm not like strong, but right now I would say Becton ends up being the best of these 4. Because now he's hurt and that changes things. But he has come in and looks like it has taken nothing for him to develop. And I haven't seen an offensive lineman bully guys like that in a long time. He makes it look like he's in high school. It's unreal.
I would say he was the higher risk pick, though. I think he had more of a chance to bust. That's why I was okay with Thomas being the number 1 there.
Yeah, I was cool with Thomas, Wills, and Becton. I didn't want Wirfs.
Yep.
I didn't want Wirfs, and he's looked good. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll key on him in the second half of this game. All right, so this is a great question for the 2 of us. He says, Chris Bonanno says, for the Football Grump, thoughts on Tate Crowder, a.k.a. Isaiah Simmons. Another guy, you said me and you doing a podcast would be boring because we say the same things. Me and you both liked him. Me and you both don't understand how he fell to Mr. Irrelevant. And me and you both got blown up by Georgia fans talking about him and explaining his story to us. It's one game, but me and you both liked him, so it's hard to not overreact to that one game.
It is. He brings something to the linebacker position specifically that the Giants haven't had in a long time, I would say since Michael Boley, and that's athleticism. He's a former running back. Thank you, Bulldog fans, for letting me know his whole life story.
He's a great person, too.
Yeah, he's a great guy, high character. He's a hard worker. I mean, these are all good things that they told me, as many times as they did. It was good information. And right now, my thing for him is he's got to get bigger. He looks a little light to me. He's a little light on his lower half. I'm worried about him in the run game right now. For this year, I think he is probably has the highest ceiling as our in coverage as far as linebackers go. He has the speed. He seems to have. He's flashed some instincts. He goes to the right places. What really jumped out to me, specifically in the last game, was his blitz timing. I mean, as a former running back too, he really knows how to hit the hole, and his timing on getting into his break was absolutely immaculate. It was like watching a 3-year veteran play, and it was his first game in the NFL. It was really something. I have high expectations for him, but he's going to have to hit the weight room hard in the offseason. I'll say that much.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that, especially because we have Blake Martinez, who has exceeded my expectations. And that's why I like Conley. Is like I'm fine with my backside linebacker not being the most physical. Because I'm so tired of backside linebackers where it's like, congrats, like you're strong, but you don't fill gaps, you don't play anything aggressive. You get like we have outside zone. You don't know how to you don't have any instincts in coverage. So if there's one thing I would sacrifice with that backside linebacker is like strength. Obviously we want him to build it up, and I can't tell if it's just he's not filled out or he just looks taller than I remember, because he looks like he's 6'7" out there.
He does.
So I have your tweet pulled up of, because we did the video, I posted the video and you said, I don't know how he became Mr. Irrelevant. Was there something wrong with character or something? His film looked pretty good to me. Not all world, but he seemed like a big part of that defense. And there was 24 replies. Let's see if we can find. Let's see if we can find one. I mean, everyone just explaining that he played running back and he's a great dude. He was never in trouble. Kid worked hard his entire time at Georgia. I was so happy when they did very bad. Yeah, I mean, it's basically all these Georgia fans. College football fans are nuts, and I love it.
Especially down there, man.
I know. Last year, week 1 of college football, I was like, you know what? Let me do some like clips and stuff, because I just downloaded the screen recording device, and those are the biggest clips I've ever had in my entire life. Was just doing random college football clips. College football fans are the best. And
they get really excited over like 18-year-olds, which is kind of.
Oh, Brian Porras, he's one of my favorite followers. I follow him. He says I'm proof. He's a Duke fan, and he is a diehard New York Giants fan now, thanks to Daniel Jones.
Nice.
Go Cuck Yourself said, great effing hair, dude. Real talk. So I'm assuming he's talking about you, Grump. Sarkon, do you think the defense can slow down the Cowboys? They seem to be getting every game. We kind of hit that a little. All right, so we hit on Graham. What are your just like basic expectations for the defense versus Dallas?
Well, my hope is that they exploit the tackle situation. The faster they can get to Dak Prescott. So this is something that me and the Cranky fan argue about, is how good is Dak Prescott? He thinks he's better than I think he is. For me, it's an accuracy thing with Prescott. I think he can make all the throws. When he gets under duress, he tries to force things, and his accuracy, it doesn't just go off. It's like way off suddenly. And so that to me is the key to attacking Prescott is right now they have 2, what I would consider backup tackles playing. They need to get to Prescott and force him to throw things quicker before routes break, let him not step into throws, and let that accuracy run a little bit wild. But before they can do any of that, they need to make sure that they stop Ezekiel Elliott. I think we have the personnel to do that with the big guys up front. I think so far this year, the run defense, although the numbers are a little bit off, the run defense has been fantastic. If they can actually get off the field on third down and they can play with a lead, I think the run defense numbers continue to go up in the positive way. Me
and you would have a boring podcast because I said the exact same things about Dak. It's like when you just play base defense against him, he tears it up. But when you can get some pressure and play a little man, like you said, he misses guys because he just, I don't know if it's confidence or what. What do you think about Marcus Golden not playing? Because it's like I'm happy with the defense, but I also want to see Golden. Like, he's a good player. He didn't get 10 sacks last year on accident.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're seeing a lot more fat girl. I mean, it might just be something that that Graham sees in practice, that he just likes more of fat girl. I think we'll see Golden this week with Zimenez likely out. Yeah. I don't know if that's been declared officially not, but he left the game early last week with a shoulder. He has not practiced yet this week. So I think we'll see some Golden this week. Maybe he'll just, change some minds going forward with the season and the way he plays. But I do think it's interesting that Golden's not playing. I expected we seem to have like the same caliber of guys. None of them are that elite pass rusher, but they're all pretty good. And I figured we'd be seeing more fresh legs at that spot, and we're not. It seems to be more on the defensive line and stuff like that.
Yeah. I usually am like, listen, I'm not going to feel bad for a guy that's making $5 million a year, but I actually do kind of feel bad for Golden because it's like, man, like he got put, like he's forced to take that contract, and maybe someone else would have, like, he wouldn't have even got that. But I do feel bad for the guy because he was productive and he's getting up there in age and he seems like a cool dude and a good leader. So it sucks to see him go. Justin Pennick said, "Oh my God, Grump, such a big fan."
Oh, thank you, Justin.
Screw you, Justin Pennick. All right, I'll ask this. We'll go. Let's see. We're at 30 minutes now. Is there anybody on this team like who once as close as we get to this trade deadline? I mean, people are going to be shopping everybody. I mean, I won't be surprised to have fans being like, "Should we trade Daniel Jones at the trade deadline?" Who is who is the guy you would trade besides Evan Ingram? Because Evan Ingram's the easy guy. Is there would you think about shopping Dalvin? Whether Golden, is there anybody on this team you would think about shopping for, let's say, a 5th round pick?
I think. Well, Dalvin Tomlinson's on the last year of his contract, yeah? I mean, is there another Dave Gettleman in the league besides Dave Gettleman that'll take that?
Well, I think a winner would take him, someone that's competing now.
I'm making a crack.
I know, but I don't, I get what you're saying where it's like, I don't know if, the Falcons are going to be trading for Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I don't think that there's somebody I would trade other than Evan Ingram. Ingram, what you look for in a trade, really, from my perspective, is somebody that's not fitting into your concept, right? I mean, you could also trade somebody where you're at a position of strength. So defensive line, somebody like Dalvin Tomlinson, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams are all candidates, but, it's unlikely to me that you're going to find somebody else who's going to take someone at the end of his rookie deal. Leonard Williams is at the end of his deal. He's currently getting paid a lot of money. And Dexter Lawrence, you're really going to get rid of somebody you just drafted? To me, this is a young team with pieces that you want to build around. And the pieces that they drafted that aren't working out, I can't see anybody wanting. So I don't really know that there's anybody else besides – God, I just saw the question. Besides Ingram that I would be willing to part with. No, I don't think so. What about you?
Yeah. I would be willing with Dalvin because we have Leonard and Dex, and
I'd be willing to. I just don't think it would happen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's banging the table for Dalvin, and then it's do you get the same if he gets an $8 million deal, what do we get back in a comp pick? Is it a 4th? I don't know. Chuck from Cobb says the Giants should trade for Haskins. That's a personal friend of mine who is actually a Washington fan. He actually knows a lot about me. He could probably get me canceled if he really wanted to. I will ask, what are your thoughts on that? Because I can't stand Haskins. I also troll Haskins, but I also do feel for the dude. He just got drafted to a coaching staff that didn't want him. Jay Gruden didn't want him. Ron Rivera didn't want him. Do you think there's any future for him? Because I don't think anyone wherever he goes, I just don't think he's ever going to be. I don't think he's good, but I do feel bad for him.
It's tough, man. I wasn't a big fan of him coming out of the draft, and most of that was because he's only got 1 year of film. And that for quarterback, for me, that's so important that there's more film. I mean, you get these guys at Alabama at certain positions where they can't even crack the depth chart at their position until their junior year or whatever, and then they just declare it, and then that's fine. For quarterback, I don't think that's fine. I need to see some consistency. I need to see some growth. And, he plays for this powerhouse in the Big Ten and throws for 1 billion touchdowns. So there's talent there. But I didn't see a whole lot. So I was really nervous about him coming to the draft. I was nervous the Giants were going to take him just because I just wasn't sure what we were going to get from him. I hate to do this. It seems like kind of a prick. He just seems like he's a little bit.
He seems like an asshole. It's okay.
He seems a little too big for his brain. He's laughing at his phone when he doesn't get taken by the Giants. Doesn't sit with me too well as a human being. But I absolutely think this is a raw deal for him. Like you said, his first game for the Redskins, he gets thrown in midway through. He didn't get any first team reps.
Gruden hated him.
He plays brutally. And, he got better throughout the year. He didn't look bad at the end of last year. He was moving things along with, let's be honest, a terrible Washington team with a terrible ownership. And now he goes in with a whole new coaching staff, and he's not even playing bad this year. I mean, the whole team is playing bad, but of all the things to complain about over there, Haskins isn't really at the top of the list, and he gets benched anyway. Art Stapleton seems to think that there's something going on behind the scenes with him that's getting him benched, and that very well may be. I don't pay that much attention to Washington to pick up on any sort of hints or anything like that. But
he's an asshole. Do you remember
Yeah,
that video of him yelling at the offensive line?
Yeah.
It was like, what? Like, that was like, and people were defending him on that. And I hate to play the I played card, but I was like, dude, I see right through that. I see right through that. You are putting on for a camera. That's not who you are. And that's when it's like, people get on, like that's what I love about Jones and Eli. It's like, they're not those guys, but they like a lot of, like, Kirk Cousins pretends to be that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas like Jones just isn't that, like, be who you are. And that wasn't it. Like, you could see in those offensive linemen's face, they were like disgusted at the guy. So I'll finish it off with this.
Okay.
Have you gotten any text from Cranky Fan about the Rays right now? The Yankees are up 4-1.
No, I think
His rant had me going, dude. I love his passion for the Rays and the Gators, and obviously the Giants as well. But I love his passion for those other teams.
Well, you're getting playoff.
The Lightning. Right now. I love watching him tweet at like Lightning, people talking trash about the Tampa Bay Lightning and stuff. He's great.
Oh, well, he's got the Lightning thing for like a whole year now. He can ride that for a while and troll anybody he wants.
What sucks is I'm not a Lightning fan, but when they're good, it's cool to go down to Tampa for, like, even if you're not going into the games, going out. Like, it's actually, for being in Florida, it's actually a pretty fun hockey city. And with the COVID stuff, we couldn't do any of that this year. So I had hotels booked like 2 years ago too. Like, we're gonna go hang out, for the weekend for the Stanley Cup, and then they ended up getting that's the year they choked to Washington. So 3 years ago.
People who don't follow me or anything. Football was like my number one sports passion. I could care less about basketball. I don't really care about baseball. But the sport I wish I could get into is hockey. And the reason I say wish I could is because I'm just so into football and they collide so much that I can't. But playoff hockey is something else, man. That is really fun to watch. And it doesn't usually collide with anything football related. So I can get into that. And it's a whole other atmosphere. I've been to playoff hockey games. It is so much fun to be in the stadium. But that has nothing to do with your Rays question.
No, I moved it to the Lightning somehow.
Yeah. Baseball is so slow paced that it gives him plenty of time to just rage tweet about management and pitching and pitch counts and throwing strikes. I mean, it really is like watching a meltdown, and they'll be winning when he does it too. So I'm sure my Twitter feed right now, I should probably mute him because it's just going to be clogged with him.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So make sure to follow the Football Grump. You guys do a podcast. I put the link in the chat. I'll put it in the comments when we're done. Dude, thanks for coming on, man. We'll definitely do it again soon.
Yeah, dude, anytime. We'll have our boring little Q&A where we say the same shit.
Sounds good. See you, man.
All right, later.